Alright, we're here on our 2.3 notes where we are going over midpoint on the coordinate plane. You already did midpoints, just straight line segments, last unit. Now we're on midpoint of the coordinate plane. So just like last time, midpoint divides it into two congruent segments. Midpoint formula, to find the exact middle of each x and y coordinate, we just add them together and divide by 2. So if you like algebra, here's the algebra formula. If you don't like algebra, remember, to find the middle, you just add them together and divide by 2. So that's the simple way to remember it. And so, for example, the endpoints and a graph of PQ are given. Find the coordinates of the midpoint. And so we can do this two ways. So we can do it with algebra. So if you like algebra, all you do is you label these x1, y1, x2, y2. So we just have our 2 points. They're in formula x, y, and I just add the x's, divide by 2. So that means -4 plus 0 divide by 2. -4 divided by 2 is just -2. Then I do it again for the y's. y1 plus y2 divide by 2 means I do 3 plus 5 divided by 2 gives me 8 divided by 2, which gives me 4. And so then my answer is m is my midpoint equals -2, 4. Okay, the other way, and you can choose which way is better. Sometimes one or the other is easier because sometimes they give us the graph and don't give us the points. Or sometimes they give us the points and there's no graph there, so we want to use algebra. But what we're going to do here for the graph method, I'm going to switch colors for you. So on the graph, I'm just going to count and find the exact middle. So my rise and run, so I'm counting to get from P to Q. I go up 2 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise was 2, my run was 4. The exact middle is I just divide them each by 2. So I'm going to go up 1, switch colors for you again. So this time I'm going to go up 1, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I go up 1 and over 1, 2, and then I've plotted the middle point. And then I have to label the point that I plotted, which is -2 and 4. So I got the same answer either way, whether I plugged it into the formula or whether I counted out, divide by 2, plot point, and label. So now you're going to try this one, and you will be, if you're in live class, you'll be telling your teacher. If you're not in live class, you'll be submitting your answer in Canvas to any UTRI problems. And so you can choose, are you going to count it up on the graph, are you going to plug it into your algebra formula, or are you going to do both? So pause the video, work out that UTRI problem. Okay, our second type of problem we're doing is a little bit different. It's still dealing with midpoint, but this time we're asked to find the other endpoint of a line segment with a given endpoint and a midpoint. So this time, instead of just adding them up, divide by 2, we have to do a little more solving. So method 1 is with our algebra, which was midpoint of x equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And this time I have my x1, I have my y1, because that's the endpoint. And then I have my midpoint, so this is my midpoint of x and midpoint of y. And so if you like algebra, it's really easy. We just plug in. I have my midpoint of x is 3. I keep the equal sign. My midpoint, my x1 is 1. I don't have x2, so that's what I have to solve for, divided by 2. And so now the math part is that I have to go ahead and multiply both sides by 2, because I don't want to deal with fractions anymore. And so now I have 6 equals 1 plus x2. I subtract 1 from each side, and I get 5 equals x2. Now I'm just going to repeat that same process using my y values. And so the midpoint of y equals y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And so that means my midpoint of y, which is 3, equals y1, which is 9, plus y2 divided by 2. Again, I multiply both sides by 2 to get 6 equals 9 plus y2. And I subtract 9 from both sides to get negative 3 equals y2. And so then my answer is that ordered pair of 5, negative 3. Okay, so that's a really nice way if you like algebra, if you like those equations and working it out. If algebra isn't your brain's favorite topic, you have 2 other options where you can still do this problem. The second method is just on the graph, and all we do is count our rise and run, and then repeat. So I'm counting from Q to M, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then I count to M is 1, 2. So that's the exact middle. Middle means I'm halfway there, so I just have to do the same thing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then forward 1, 2. And then I repeat, and then I need to label that point. And so that point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and negative 1, 2. And so it came out to the exact negative 2 or 3. Let me count again. 1, 2, 3. I counted that wrong. And so it came out exactly the same when I just counted it on the graph. So that's nice. You can draw your own graph. If that works better for your brain, you can. If you have graph paper, work it out in graph paper. If both of those still seem confusing, there is a third option for you. The third option is just find the pattern. So that usually, I put them in order here. So I'm starting at Q. So that was 1 and 9. The middle is at M, which was 3 and 3. And the end is what I'm trying to find. And so all I'm doing is what math happens to get from 1 to 3. Well, to go from 1 to 3, I'm adding 2. And so all I have to do to get from 3 to the end is add another 2 and hit that 5 that we already found the other 2 ways. To get from 9 to 3, I have to subtract 6. 9 minus 6 equals 3. So then I subtract another 6 and hit that same negative 3. And so my answer is this way. So all you have to do is pick your favorite method. Do you like the algebra? Do you like to graph it and plot it out that way? Or do you like to just find the pattern and repeat? All right, we're going to do one more with decimals because your assignment today is on Khan Academy, and you only have 4 problems on Khan Academy, but they do include decimals. And so here I'm going to pick my favorite method, which is method 3, and show you just how that works. So I'm starting at -1 and 8. My middle is 3 and 5.5. Where do I end? And so to get from -1 to 3, I have to add 4. And if you want to check your math, especially with the negatives, check and see. So -1 plus 4 gives me the 3 that I'm looking for. So you can just type it in on your phone calculator. If you have a little calculator, you can use that. So then I do 3 plus 4 more to get 7. Now I have 8 to 5.5. Well, I'm going down, so that means I'm subtracting. Mental math tells me I'm subtracting 2.5. I'm going to double check on my calculator. So 8 minus 2.5 equals the 5.5 I'm looking for. And then I subtract another 2.5 to get 3. So my answer is 7.3. So if you like that, you can fast forward a little bit, skip this. I am going to show the algebra ways for our people who really have algebra brains like that. And so for algebra, so our midpoint of x would mean we have 3 equals -1 plus x2 divided by 2. Multiply both sides by 2 to get 6 equals -1 plus x2. Add 1 to both sides to get 7 equals x2. It's the same 7 we found there. I just found it with algebra now. Then my midpoint of y equals y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So that equals our 5.5 midpoint is 8 plus y2 divided by 2. That first step is multiply both sides by 2. 2 times 5.5 is 11. And then I just subtract 8 from both sides to get 3 equals y. And so I solved the same way to get my ordered pair of 7, 3. Okay. And I'm not going to show graph this time. If you really like graph, you can draw that on your paper or pull out graph paper. I am going to show you what this looks like on Khan Academy, because that is where your assignment will be. The notes are done. You have a you-try problem that you will be either doing in live class with your teacher or submitting your answer on Canvas if you were not in live class. All right, that's the review of the slope problem that you should have already done that slope section on Canvas. So midpoint formula is the other lesson that you are doing today. And remember, Khan Academy has this really nice notation tool. And so you can click on this and click any color you want to draw on. It can help with just doing things on here if you don't want to copy the problems out at home. And so on here it asks me to find the midpoint of A and B. So I know I just have to add them up and divide by 2. Or I can count it out on the graph. It is just your choice. And so if I want to count it on the graph, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then this is 1. And so I'm going to now come and do half of that. Well, half of 9 is 4.5, so I'm going to come back and count 1, 2, 3, 4, and a half. is half of 9. And then half of 1 just means I come up 1/2, so I'm going to come down 1/2 to hit right here on the line. If I've done it correctly, I'll hit on the line. And so that comes out as a decimal. That is at 2.5 is where I graphed that point. And positive 3.5. So that's the way I put in 2.5 for my x, 3.5 for my y. And if that's confusing to you, remember you can go through and do it with algebra. And because we're just trying to find, hey, what's exactly in between here. So if I did negative 2 plus 7 is 5, divided by 2 gives me that same 2.5. If I do 4 plus 3 is 7, divided by 2 is that same 3.5. And remember on Khan Academy there are the help buttons, step-by-step solution, or if you don't know how to do it, there's the get the help button. So this is a new problem. It says watch a video or use a hint if you don't know how to do it. The second problem is point A is negative 2 and 4. They could graph it for me. Point M is 2.5 and 3.5. Point M is the midpoint of AB. So what are the coordinates of B? So B would be my other end point. So this is like the second type of lesson that we do. Sorry, second type of problem we did in our lesson. And so I have two options. I can count and repeat. So I can count forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that's exactly in the middle. So that was forward 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And then down just half. Coming down the 0.5. And then I repeat. So I go forward. 1, there's my half, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, half, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then down the other half to hit this solid point, which is 7, 3. It's a little harder with the halves to count them out. So my favorite thing to do would be go ahead and just find the pattern and repeat. So to get from negative 2 all the way over to 2.5, I have to add 4.5. And so then I take 2.5, add another 4.5. It's just doing the math without having to count it out. And I get 2.5 plus 4.5 is 7. Okay. My mouse pad's not cooperating with me. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing here with my y. So to get from 4 to 3.5, I'm subtracting 0.5. And so then I just do another minus 0.5 and get a solid 3. Or I can plug it in and do the algebra, which I'm not going to do in this example. And so I just type in the 7 and the 3 and check. So that is your assignment. It's only 4 questions long, and so it should not take you long to complete it.